right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Church Encourager podcast. I'm Douglas Laws. With me is my father, Pastor Steve Laws. Thanks for being here, Dad. Well, you're at your Church Encourager office today.
Yeah.
We just got finished with day 1 of our vacation Bible school here at the church, and it was pretty wild. I'll actually include a couple of clips of my day here.
Okay, good. Well, you had a power outage.
Yeah. So a couple of funny things. I was about to sit down and do my weekend work. Get everything ready to go on the computers and stuff that I need to do. That's part of my Tuesday routine. So I got the VBS all situated. They were good, and then I come in and my sister Sarah, your daughter, she runs the game section. And I handed her a microphone so she wouldn't have to yell, like, okay, here you go. And then she's like, okay, I'll call you if somebody pees or barfs. And I was like, okay, so I go up to my office. And then not 2 minutes after I sit down and just typing away, she calls. I'm like, hopefully it's just like, she just wanted to add something. That's the hope. And she's like, yeah, there's bubbling pee in the bounce house and you need to deal with it. So I go down and trying to deal with it. So that's why you saw the mop in the bounce house. And that's, how often do you have to mop a bounce house,
I know. That's funny.
We were fortunate. We still had towels from back in our dog wash days when we did the blessing of the pets. So I used some of those and we took care of it, cleaned it up. And then, maybe a half hour after that, all the power in the Florida Keys went out. The building's without power. So having to just navigate that, I ended up, we got some lights on with the generator, and I got to just play acoustic guitar and sing with the kids. And there's a little clip of me yelling Old MacDonald Had a Farm at the kids too.
He had a pig, okay? What you can say? Oink, oink here, and an oink, oink there.
So it was fun, but I like the days where everything is smooth, and that was one of those challenge days. But really, what we do when we volunteer at VBS is we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Really, is teaching the next generation about Jesus, and not everything goes perfectly according to plan. But even in those instances, we can still represent the light. We can be reflectors of the light, and we can be lighthouses. So, that was my day. And another thing that I'm reflecting is the love for the Florida Panthers. They had a game last night. It was very exciting. They won 6-1. So repping the Panthers gear. If you're a hockey fan watching this, that's awesome. I'm glad there's another one of us. But anyway, we do these podcasts to answer the questions found in our discussion guides at the Keys Vineyard Church. And just to kind of go through, I like to ask Dad a few of them, and, we can use this as devotions during the midweek. And so Dad, we'll start with this one. And I think we're going to talk more about this week in next week's lesson. But how do you see the difference between doing church and being the church?
Yeah. That's one of those things, and I've been hitting on that. I'm trying to hit on in the messages in this whole series, is that because of our terminology, hey, I'm going to go to church now, that we go to church and then we leave. Hey, I'm leaving church, like somehow we've just done it. And the problem is you are the church. You can't do the church. You have to be the church. And yet, because we've sort of compartmentalized our lives, okay, well, this is, in these days I go and do church. But you don't. You do church every day. You are church every day, and so it's just it's often a shift in our thinking. But we get very accustomed to, okay, well, I do church on Sunday or Saturday night, and I do church maybe during the week sometime, and that's it. I've done church. I've done it, and it's like it's not the idea of the church. The church it's not. It's not just about going to a meeting, although that's a part of it, but it's about being the church. We are it's all on us. The everything from in the Old Testament of the story of pointing to being a way for people to be reconciled, and how there was that nation of Israel that was held apart as the one nation through which all nation would come. That somehow that's on the church now. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're the way, we're the only way back for people to be reconciled with God. And so you can't just do that an hour or two a week. I mean, you have to understand that it's all encompassing. It's what we are. It's what we do. It's why we're here. It's all those things tied in. So there's a very big difference. It's important to go and be a part and get built up and encourage and all those things, but it's much more important to be. And that is something you do from the moment you get up until you go back to sleep, maybe even while you're sleeping. I don't know, but it's being the church and all those things and what it looks like. And sometimes being the church looks like mopping up pee.
House. I mean, I'm in the hands, me's like,
Yeah.
I was glad it was just a little guy because, and I'm glad it wasn't vomit as well. Cause I'll take urine over vomit any day to deal with.
Yeah, I get it. But still, all those things are,
But it's, you gotta be willing to go in the gross.
do
because
what you're called to do so that everybody else could continue to have fun. And, the VBS is, we want to capture the children's hearts and attentions for Jesus, but it often opens up doors for their families too. And so you just never know where it goes. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah. Kimberly and I were having a conversation with this younger guy who was at church. And, he's very passionate about sharing the gospel. And, he was getting just like upset that like he'd go to present the gospel and then people would get sort of turned off right away. And, the thought that we had was, well, just by, again, being the light of Jesus, you're planting seeds, you're moving the steps in the right direction, because people need a certain amount of interactions in order to really open up and be ready to listen. A lot of people don't just accept a cold call, and that's not what we're trying to say. We're just trying to say, be like Jesus, not in a forceful way, but in a loving way. And in time, you get those opportunities, but they don't always happen. And we just have to have faith that God's working on them, even when we, feel like, okay, I've tried my best and they didn't, necessarily take it. That's okay. Like there's going to be other times and God's working on them, and we can just kind of rest in that fact, knowing that we're doing our part. And as long as we do that, we're doing the best that we can, and that's part of being the church and loving him. And
it's loving people in a way so that you're asked. It's very hard to just project the gospel on the people.
So many of us just want to jump right to the chase. Yeah. And that's
you need to be invited in, and you get invited in by
being loving
people. Well, yeah, that's it.
And not forcing on them.
Then they start to ask questions. It's nothing better than someone asking a question. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait, that's a question. Here we go.
Right.
I happen to have some answers.
It's a long haul evangelism.
Yeah.
We're definitely more of the long haul guys than the cold callers.
Absolutely.
You need both. Yeah. You absolutely need both.
Yeah, there are times when the other, but most of the time, it's just a matter of
in our experience. But we're long haul guys. So, again, it's all good. Just be the lighthouses. However, you're called to be. Here's another good question from our discussion guide. In what ways can we practically reflect Jesus's light in our daily lives?
Yeah, I was trying to encourage people to take a look this week at areas where that might not be happening, and to really sort of, and I kind of jokingly said it can be how we drive, right? It was funny on the way to VBS this morning. I wanted to go and be there, and things got going, and I was. Some of you laugh, but I went through the traffic light on Big Pine where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and it does it in the wrong order. Mm-hmm. You should typically you merge from one direction to the other, and this one merges the wrong way. I think it does anyway, right? The people in the left lane have to merge, and so I knew that was coming, and somebody came ripping up beside me, and at the very last minute into the place where and so I had to give way, right? And I always, that old man is like, but I gave way. It was all good. And it was funny because whoever it was, I didn't follow up and see who it was, pulled in and actually ended up going to the VBS.
Yeah, that's always why you can't just lay on the horn and say what
Yeah.
you're feeling,
Yeah.
because they might just show up at church.
Yeah, well, and this person actually did. And
that-
I
yeah,
let him in. Fortunately, I let him in. But if there was a moment when I'm like,
Because how awful would it be to have an accident with somebody who attends the church? It's just
yeah, just because
no
you were
coming back from that, really.
not giving way. You know,
Right.
when
You
when
didn't-
when it's not a big deal, right? But there, it's
Yeah,
easy.
we're
to
like
get,
yield to the Holy Spirit, yet we can't yield in traffic. You know?
yeah, it's kind of like okay. So that was so funny this morning though, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna let you in, but there was just that moment, and then they pulled into the church, and I'm like, okay, well, good enough. They were there this morning. I don't know who it was. I didn't follow the car to see who it was.
Yeah. I think the thought of thinking where we're not like Jesus is a great way to help us see what we can do to get better, rather than just coming up with some, just be nice. I don't know.
Yeah, no, so it's practical. It's like what areas do you struggle in? You know, I said for some people it's the way they respond on social media. They're way more aggressive than they would
Well,
be
yeah,
normally, and it's like
keyboard warriors. you know?
stop.
Another thing I would add is watch how we handle our expectations towards other people. Because, I think we talked about it maybe in our other podcast where people are going to let us down. Our spouses won't meet all of our expectations, and we may never even communicate those expectations. But that would be one way I'd say that we could watch out for. It's just, not everybody's going to meet all of our expectations. My kids won't meet my expectations. You won't meet all my expectations. I won't meet all of your. Well, I'm going to, but
You won't even meet
I'm
your own
joking.
expectations.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just something to be mindful of. And obviously, after my statement there, having a sense of humility as well is important to practically reflect Jesus in our daily lives. Good thoughts. Here's a good one to ask. How can we as a church better serve as a lighthouse in our community? Kind of related to the last one, but what can we do together to really serve our community?
I think that too is one of the things I said is that when people outside the church look at the church, they ought to be seeing Jesus. And oftentimes I don't think that's what they see. We should be the kindest, most loving group of people. I mean, that's the kind of rep I want when people go. I don't know about those people at that church, but man, they really are a bunch of lovers. You know what I mean? It's in a good way, right? And I just think that it's very easy to get sort of isolated and critical and judgy, and that's not the win, right? I mean, we Holy Spirit does all that stuff, and we often try and get in charge of that, and it's like we're terrible at it. He's really good at it, and so we have to love people well, and it doesn't mean that it's by a long stretch is not everything okay. It's not. We believe in the Bible. There's some issues, but God works those out. We love people and trust that God will work them out, right? And so how do we be we kinder, look for ways to bless folks? For me, down in our area, it's always been a big deal to just give stuff away.
Yeah.
Trying to sort of dispel the idea that seems that all the church cares about is your money. And that's what a lot of people outside the church think, and probably inside. And just constantly trying to, do whatever we give it away, right? We go out with our outreaches, we always give it away. And
We were
just keep-
talking about, you got a sample of a future outreach thing that I was excited about. And yeah, you were mentioning just a practical thing, assuming we've got some church leaders who are going to be listening to this. Did you want to keep it a surprise, the outreach you have later this year in Sugarloaf?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do for
so
now.
I won't discuss it, but probably one of my, because that was going to be the next key thing, but I would say
Yeah.
we've always been big on outreach here at our church. And one of we didn't come up with the idea, but one of the things we used to do was a $1 car wash where we'd wash people's cars and then we'd give them $1. And we live in such a small area, the word caught on pretty quick, but I could imagine being a church leader in a place where not everybody knows your name, like Cheers. That could be another like great just outreach idea that's easy. And you know, another thing we do, I think to mention, is that we encourage our church every week to pray for your neighbors. Like that's going to make a huge difference in the community. Like literally just you know, have a note in your phone that just has prayer requests for your neighbors. Just, you know, see what they're going through, what they need, how, you know, pray for healing for them, pray for protection. Just make that an active part of your devotional life. And, you know, if we have a note of it, right, we can kind of track its progress in some way too. So that's been helpful for me. And, you know, I also pray for my friends, and throughout the day, I constantly just praying, like, Lord bless them, you know, see somebody like, because there's a whole life attached to this person. I'm saying I've gone to the gym again, and, you know, there's all sorts of, like, the treadmills are like my favorite thing to do. They're right outside the parking lot, and I can kind of see people and their lives. And, you know, that's another good opportunity I've had to just, like, I don't know anything specific for them. Not that I'm going to, but it's just like, okay, Lord, you know, whatever they need, be with them. And I see a lot of people I know too. So that's always funny. I was at the gym the other day. I saw Marilyn there. She's been part of our church for a long time. So we were on the treadmills together, and yeah. But it's good. And, you know, again, it's just in those moments, something simple. Like, you know, you talk about Winn-Dixie all the time in your sermons. That's an opportunity to just, sometimes just smiling at someone can open a door. Yeah.
Being kind, taking a moment, saying hello. You can, you know, the thing, 'cause I know we're not going to get to any more questions, but one of the questions, you know, what prevents us from doing this? And a lot of times it's just being so sort of preoccupied with ourselves that we miss, because you can see, you know, you can tell when somebody needs something.
They
right?
have a look.
There's something, and it's like, you know, if you, it does take a little kindness and effort to, hey, are you okay? What can I do? Do you need prayer? And I'm surprised how many people will let you pray for them.
Yeah.
And you know, I never push it, because you can, there's a way to ask even, and, you know, just be appropriate. And the thing I think is, I don't necessarily go looking for it, but at the same time, I try not to be not looking for it. Although sometimes, you know, I mean, if it's early Monday morning and I've just had a long weekend, I may not totally be looking for it.
No, you're just trying to hunker down. And you know, that kind of brings up, when we talk about obstacles, Mondays can be a very hard day for people in ministry, and, you know, pastors, but just, you know, people involved in church as well. I think this stat is what most pastors quit on Monday, you know,
they resign on Mondays, because that's an expectation thing a lot of time. And there's a big level of, you know, attack. It's a spiritual battle that's happening. That's very intense. And then even when it's really good on the weekend, it's kind of a letdown. You know what I mean? So there's a whole lot of factors.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, you just have to wrestle through all those and keep pressing in, and, you know, just try and keep your light somewhat shining. It may not always be as bright as it could be, but try not to put it under something, you know, just be ready.
Sometimes it's an LED, sometimes it's a incandescent little candlelight we have in Grandma's armoire.
It looks like the batteries are almost dead on that light.
Just keep on shining, you know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Well, yeah, this was a good one. Really enjoying these podcasts. The link for the discussion guide is available in the YouTube comments here, as well as our page on the Keys Vineyard Church app. And follow along with that. Be with us Thursday. We'll have Pastor Brain with our Bible Institute podcast, where we look at next week's message. Looking forward to that one. But it's been a great episode. Thanks for hanging, Dad. And,
hey, before you go,
yes,
just someone asked me about, since you plugged this, they heard this.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, where do I find the other one? Get a little harder on the app. And I had to take
I'm going to get both of them in the app here shortly.
Okay,
so yes, I everything is a process, especially with VBS coming up. But they're going to, and then it's like, how many of the Bible Institute podcasts do I put on the app? But I will make a decision and figure that out. We'll put most of them up. But,
or even just even if you just start with, you know, where we're at, you got to start somewhere. Yeah. Sometimes it's too hard to go back and get them all.
Sure. But I want to get some of them just for some context.
right.
So we'll,
Maybe
we'll work on it.
Start with this series and you'll be good.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've done a little business meeting at the end too. Everybody,
There you go.
thank you
Everybody
for watching.
loves a business meeting. No?
Who doesn't?